Hey everybody, it's Tom Barnes and the Chicago scene doing a little bit of music. And when I say a little bit of music, it's kind of a big deal for me because I'm talking to Jason Singer, who is the lead singer and the driving force that is Michigander. How you doing, Jason?
I'm doing well.
Thank you for joining me. And you've had a huge year in terms of getting an album ready, but also, you know, a dark path to it in the beginning, just like everybody else. You were ready to put out this album at the beginning of 2020, and then the pandemic hits, and everybody kind of shuts down and does their thing about how to get through the pandemic, which for a lot of people was really hard. Being alone was really hard. And I'm guessing putting out music or wanting to put out music in that time made it hard, but you figured out a way to do it. Why don't you talk about that real quick?
Yeah, so we started recording the record like back in January, and we had no idea anything was lurking ahead of what we were about to go through. So we did some January, some February stuff. We had a whole big year plan with playing a bunch of big festivals, including one that's in Chicago, uh, and um, and then it all kind of just got taken away. It's not all at first, because at first I think we all thought like 2 or 3 weeks we'll be back to normal.
Right. Yeah. Everybody's like,
Um,
2 weeks. Well, Easter, it'll be great. It'll be back to normal.
yeah, yeah. But not the case, obviously. But yeah, I think we're getting to. It was just a weird time to like make a record, and instead of like writing new songs, which I tried to do, I feel like all of them were very reflective of the times we were in. I
Hmm.
felt like everything was just about like I'm alone at my house and the world sucks and the world's ending and all this stuff. And I was like, no one's gonna want to hear this in 10 years. No one's gonna want to hear this in a year from now. People are gonna want to be happier. So I was like, I'm gonna work just ditch. I'm just gonna put new writing new music aside, and I'm just gonna work on the music that I already have, and just make that stuff better. Since we're not releasing it now, till who knows when. Because it was supposed to come out like last summer,
Right. Right.
and then it was like, let's come out in the fall. And now it's like, and obviously it just came out last week, but
Yeah. March 19th, the EP
yeah, a week
came
ago
out, right?
today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool. Yeah. So, obviously I'm glad we waited. I'm glad because whatever I would have put out last summer would have been probably a totally different thing than what I put out like last week. Like it evolved so much, like sonically, and like we got to spend way more time on it and way less pressure
Yeah. I
to
read
like
that you
crank it
you
out.
had time to do that, right? During the
Yeah.
pandemic, where you decided you had one rule is I want to be able to pull this off live, right? So
Yeah.
whatever we're doing musically, I want to be able to transition that to live shows because that's the whole point, right? Is getting
Right.
up in front of people and singing again. And you got to keep that in the back of our minds when we haven't done it for so long, right?
Right. So that was my original rule. And then as I kept working, I was like, I just want to make the best thing possible, regardless of the live show. We're not playing shows right now. We've done some rehearsals and stuff. We've done live streams with these new songs, and they can be pulled off live, which is really like a big weight off my shoulders because I never know. Like, these songs get made in the studio, and like, and then we go to rehearsals, and we're like, oh, how are we gonna do this? Like, there's only four of us. How are we gonna do this? Um, but we use some computer tricks and stuff live, and so it works. It all works really nicely, actually, which is a big relief.
Yeah, you're from Midland, Michigan, right? Did I get that
Yeah,
right? Which is
yeah,
just north of Detroit.
yeah, about 2 hour and a half north of Detroit, which is where I live now. Yeah,
Yeah, I read that Detroit's like the big city that you went to as a kid going to see Tigers games, and that had a profound impact on you. Where you're like, I want to live there one day. I want to get there, and you made that decision recently to, your headquarters is in Detroit. So I just was curious from one kid growing up in Chicago. When I used to go to Wrigley Field all the time as a kid, I remember thinking and telling my dad, I want to live here. And my dad would look at me like I was crazy. Like, no, we're not, we don't live here. Like we live in the burbs. And
yeah,
I now live in this, I've lived in the city for 20 years. And what has that done for you? Just go, I mean, in Detroit, I've been to Detroit many times. It's an awesome city. I've been to
yeah,
Motown a few times. Motown was huge. It was the biggest thing in
yeah.
music for like what, 2 decades on, right?
Right. So I to a fault don't know as much about that as I should, which I recently started delving into and trying to learn more. But yeah, it's crazy how much like influence like I think like techno and like a lot of EDM stuff started here as well.
Yeah, there's the debate of like house music, if it started in Detroit or Chicago or at the same
Yeah,
time, or yeah.
we're gonna say Detroit. I
Okay,
know,
well, yeah, it's your
but
interview, so go
yeah.
for it.
I don't know, but yeah, I don't know the real answer, but yeah, it's a good music city. There's still like a lot of really good bands here that aren't getting enough attention. I think there's too many bands in my state that are not getting attention, which really it's exciting that I'm like people are starting to know my music and like that's very new and exciting for me. But there are so many of my friends who I'm like, these my friends are just as good, if not better than me. Then why aren't they getting out there? So I'm hoping that people start looking more to what's happening here and taking note of it maybe.
Yeah, I feel like the Midwest doesn't get as much love for some reason. Probably historically over the years, just because bands that might be from them, like take Glenn Fry of the Eagles. He's from Detroit, but he had to go out to LA to make it big because that's kind of what you had to do back then. But Bob Seger, he was Detroit strong. Like when I think of Detroit or Michigan music, I mean, you can't get into that conversation without talking about Bob Seger. And he
Right.
talked about Northern Michigan in Night Moves, like
Right.
he mentions that. Like, is that kind of like, were those the kind of guys that you listened to growing up, or what did you listen to?
I think I didn't really listen to any of that growing up. The main Michigan artist that I listened to growing up, who was probably very, very important to what I do now, is Jack White.
Yeah, I
He's
probably
from
dated
Detroit.
myself by referencing Bob
Oh
Seger. I
no,
apologize.
yeah, no. But Jack, like I remember watching my friends' older brothers would bring home these bootleg videos of the White Stripes playing like at the Magic Stick here, which is like 10 minutes from my house now. It's a place that I've played before. 3 years ago yesterday, I think we played like a big show there, and getting to like I don't know, like that was always like kind of cool. Like, oh, they're a musician, they can, and they're from here. Like that's interesting. And then I would come down here for shows, obviously, and go to St. Andrews and the Fillmore and things and see shows. And I think it's always kind of been a little bit of an important place for me. So it's really cool to live here now. I mean, I've only been here 2 months, and it's during a pandemic, so it's like kind of different than what I would.
So,
Yeah, but it's been good.
so you live in Detroit proper. I mean, I'm
Yep.
not totally familiar with it, but you
Yeah.
live in Detroit. Is it what you thought it would be like? I mean, you feel that energy of a city that gets you to maybe change the way that you write music or how you want to write music?
Yeah, it's super interesting. I've been thinking a lot about this, and I don't know if I have an answer yet because like I said, I've only been here for like a short amount of time, but I imagine that the music I'll write here, like I haven't written much, but I imagine like in hindsight, like a year from now, I'll look back and go, oh, all those songs were really important to this, like my time being in the city.
What are you looking forward to when, these restrictions are lifted and we can go full bore?
Yeah, I'm excited to be stuck in a van for all day, every day, driving to shows and take and like, I mean, obviously that's it can be really stressful to tour and can be really stressful to drive and be gone for 3 or 4 weeks at a time. But I'm really looking forward to it. I think about it all the time. Like the van is parked in the back here, and I just like see it all the time. I'm like, ugh. Sometimes I just go sit in it and just think like, man, I can't wait to get this back out on the road and with all my buddies and doing rock shows. So hopefully, fingers crossed, into summer, into fall, we'll be in a good place for that. I'm feeling pretty
Yeah.
hopeful.
So you said 4 of you in the band. You're going to go out on the road when it's allowable and have your little mini RV hotel on the road going from city to city, and look forward to hearing the song that you're going to introduce for us right now. And you're going to play a little bit, which is awesome. Why don't you introduce the song for us and off the album, the new EP?
Yeah, so this is my newish song called Let Down.
Yeah.
It's on my new EP, Everything Will Be Okay Eventually. I love this song. I'm so happy that people are listening to it. And yeah, this is Let Down.
You're a concept worth exploring, never nervous, never boring. I don't wanna mess it up. No, I don't wanna mess it up. Crossing state lines through the morning, little tired, little swerving. I don't wanna mess it up. No, I don't wanna mess it up. 'Cause I got high hopes, I got high hopes, but they let me down. They usually let me down. Well, I feel like I've known you, even though I've only met you. I don't wanna mess it up. I'm probably gonna mess it up. 'Cause you're walking down the stairs on a Wednesday night. Sure, it's kinda cold, but I feel alright. 'Cause I got you in the front seat, and you keep on looking at me. 'Cause I got high hopes, I got high hopes, but they let me down. They usually let me down. I got high hopes, I got high hopes, but they let me down. Oh, they usually let me down. Yeah, 'cause love, yeah, love, yeah, love will find you when it's ready. 'Cause love, yeah, love, yeah, love, oh, we'll find you when it's ready. 'Cause I got high hopes, I got high hopes, but they let me down. They usually let me down.